themselves were productive. This is one of the great strengths of the Commonwealth, and we've seen it on display in full force this week, bringing together a diverse set of countries, each with its own perspectives and interests, but united by some shared values to discuss the full range of issues and challenges addressing us all. With these discussions and the significant reforms we agreed, I believe we have made a major contribution towards ensuring the Commonwealth is an institution that is well positioned for the future. We have set the directions for a more purposeful, relevant and valuable Commonwealth, one designed for the future. I hand now to my colleague, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Let me take this opportunity to wish the Prime Minister of Australia every success as we handed over the chair in office, one woman to another. So please, can we give a round of applause and thank her very much for this position. For the people here of Perth and of Australia, we want to thank you very much for your hospitality and your greetings and your accommodations whilst we've been here in Perth. We've been very happy to be here, and thank you very much for that. And may I also take an opportunity to express our condolences, Madam Chair, and to the people of Australia, government and people of Australia, for the soldiers who have been killed and wounded in Afghanistan. We express our condolences. It is never, ever a good thing when one of your citizens have been taken out. So we do express our condolences. This Perth CHOGM was of particular significance both because of our reform agenda as well as the focus on issues critical to member states, including small island developing states such as ours in Trinidad and Tobago. And so I'm very delighted that Madam Chair has signalled her early intention to press for greater involvement of women in decision-making, and we offer all our support in whatever way we can to assist the work of the chair in office. With respect to the reform agenda, heads agreed to a series of actions to maintain the relevance of the Commonwealth and ensure its effectiveness in responding to contemporary challenges. Madam Chair already spoke of the CMAG, the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group. And so whilst the heads reaffirm our commitment to the values and principles of the Commonwealth, we also agreed to the strengthening of the role of the CMAG, which has been the custodian of these very values and principles, with considerable increase in cost to members, without increase in cost to member states. Strengthening of CMAG is a positive development in my respectful view, and will go a long way to preserving Commonwealth values, as well as act as an effective check on any attacks upon human rights in member states. Trinidad and Tobago is grateful for CARICOM's support for allowing us, represented by my Foreign Affairs Minister, Dr. Rambachan, to continue as a member of CMAG for a second term. With our Minister of Foreign Affairs as a member, we will be able to remain engaged as we strengthen CMAG's role to deal with issues that are very serious and persistent, and to deal with such issues without violation of Commonwealth values. The Charter of the Commonwealth is to be approved by leaders following a meeting of Commonwealth Foreign Ministers in September 2012, after a process of consultation to ensure that the principles and aspirations of our 54-member state association are fully reflected in this Charter. The Charter is expected to draw together elements, including all agreements and declarations made by the Commonwealth member states, dating back to the Singapore Declaration of Commonwealth Principles of 1971, which will form the Association's fundamental values and principles. Further, the heads agreed the Perth Declaration on Food Security Principles, a very important issue to address the volatility of global food markets, which have resulted in humanitarian crises around the world, affecting vulnerable developing countries, and to adopt measures for financial support to increase food production in African countries. And may I take this opportunity to congratulate our chair in office, the Prime Minister of Australia and the people of Australia for their support for food security measures in Africa. Civil society, another very important issue. Across the globe, civil society is seeking greater involvement in the political process, in self-determination and policy formulation. We cannot afford to ignore the voice of the people. I've said, and you may have heard me say, vox populi, vox Dei, the voice of the people is indeed the voice of God. This is even more important given the large percentage of the youth population of the Commonwealth and the growing restlessness of youth globally. We must try and ensure that perceptions and/or feelings of alienation, marginalization by youth should be managed, and that by youths must become more involved in our national affairs. Finally, global issues. In addition to the reform agenda, this CHOGM deliberated and agreed to collaborate on a range of political, economic, social, and environmental challenges of importance to our member states. These included, inter alia, issues such as climate change and sustainable development, effective resource management, attainment of the MDGs, universal access to healthcare, including accelerating the implementation of the political declaration of the UN high-level meeting on the prevention and control of non-communicable diseases, which was spearheaded by our own CARICOM states, migration, human trafficking, terrorism, gender equality, and trade-related issues included the Doha Development Round. Of particular significance in this CHOGM, in my respectful view, was the agreement reached by heads in the areas of food security, as outlined in the Perth Declaration on Food Security, and of course on gender empowerment. Of special relevance to small island developing states such as mine was the Commonwealth and Small States Foreign Ministers meeting, which examined the particular vulnerabilities of small states and areas for collaboration and building resistance. I wish again to commend the government and people of Australia on this initiative. This CHOGM was also notable for its very successful business forum, People's Forum, and Youth Forum. Of special note was a very productive engagement between civil society and ministers of government. The relationship with the UN. The heads have agreed to have the Commonwealth foster a greater relationship with the UN to seek reform of the Security Council. Relationship with the G20. Heads have also agreed to seek the assistance of G20 member states within the Commonwealth to push matters affecting Commonwealth states in G20 talks. And again, we commend the Prime Minister of Australia and the people of Australia for agreeing to take a lead in this regard in taking the voice of the Commonwealth to the G20. Madam, we thank you very much. As a direct outcome of this CHOGM, my country, Trinidad and Tobago, will be, 1, stepping up our bilateral conversation with member states towards relaxing the requirements for Commonwealth citizens entering Trinidad and Tobago for business or holiday. In this way, we can serve, in my respectful view, as the bridge between the Commonwealth and Latin, South, Central America. And secondly, we are exploring at this moment the possibility of direct flights out of South Africa and India to Trinidad and Tobago. As it is behind the South, we go north to come back south down to Australia or to Africa. So we want to explore that possibility of direct links, south-south links. Again, I want to thank the government and people of Australia for their excellent logistical and security arrangements and the warmth and hospitality of the people of Perth in particular and of Australia. You have hosted a CHOGM of which you can be justly proud, Madam and people. I thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Can I now call on the Commonwealth Secretary-General to make some remarks, and in doing so, I announce that the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting determined to reappoint the Commonwealth Secretary-General to his office for a further 4-year term. So congratulations, Secretary-General. And I'll turn to you now for some remarks.
On behalf of the Commonwealth, I would also like to convey my condolences to the families of the deceased and the tragedy in Afghanistan in their deep bereavement, and our concern for the welfare and hope for speedy recovery of those injured. In my first press conference here, I had stated that this will be a landmark CHOGM, and it has indeed proven to be one. This CHOGM will be remembered as a CHOGM of reform, renewal, and resilience. And in the Commonwealth's way, the ambition levels have been high, the expectations high, and the results are there to match. The Commonwealth walks with its eyes on the horizon, but with practical toolkits in its hands. And we have seen evidence of that this week. The upgrading of the Commonwealth Ministerial Action Group, or CMAG, is of tremendous significance. There's agreement to lift the bar. We will, of course, continue to be an organization that finds its own way of doing things in a constructive spirit and adding value. It has now been ensured that CMAG can engage earlier and constructively in future. The Eminent Persons Group report was given the closest possible scrutiny by officials, ministers, and heads. Around 1/3 of the recommendations have been adopted this weekend. Almost 2/3 will be looked at in more detail with a clear time frame for doing that. And the group was not asked to provide a blueprint, but options for reform. And it is very encouraging that so many of the options have been so swiftly adopted. One of the major outcomes of the EPG's efforts has been agreement to develop a charter. And importantly, as the group itself recommended, there will be consultation in member countries, organized by member governments, to ensure that this charter is owned by the people. The recommended commissioner was not adopted, but the reasons for that are clear. The group recommended it as a mechanism to support the CMAG and the Secretary General. Now that the role of CMAG has been lifted, the type of role needs to be re-examined. The objective has been preserved, and a way is to be found to deliver it that reflects the new reality on the ground. The Perth Declaration on Food Security was another major outcome. The Commonwealth voice and our shared perspectives will be heard and can be expected with confidence to be reflected in the outcomes of the forthcoming Climate Change Conference in Durban and next year's Rio +20 summit. The concerns of our young people have been given their rightful place at the heart of engagement by heads. This morning, over breakfast, they took part in a dynamic dialogue with representatives of the Commonwealth Youth Forum. Heads accepted the Eminent Persons Group recommendation that the Commonwealth Youth Programme should be encouraged to develop a constitution that will help form an independent and youth-led Commonwealth Youth Council to become the recognized voice of youth in the Commonwealth. In this year of Women as Agents of Change, the panel discussion that took place here this week on the theme Empowering Women to Lead is worthy of note. It is the first time an event relating specifically to the theme of advancing the role of women has been convened in conjunction with the CHOGM. I wish to pay tribute to the skillful and most effective chairing of this summit.